Hello everyone and welcome to this tournament playthrough for a rookie division. If you do want to follow along when I go through all the holes that you will play in the tournament, then you use the info box on the right hand side. Obviously all of that are just suggestions. You don't have to follow it if you don't want to. But now please enjoy the video. For hole number one, we're going to go for green, and we're gonna bounce on the fairway pad. I'm using one top spin and two right spin with my Titan ball and extra mile. Here, if you have the possibility to play with a ball with more power, that's going to be more helpful because playing with more power will allow you to not have to go with a shaky needle when going with overpower, because you're then going to be able to push up more, and then you can remove either the overpower completely or just use a little amount. I'm using approximately 3 rings of overpower. I adjust max plus 10, and I'm aiming for the front part of the pad because that part of the pad is way more consistent when it comes to the first bounce compared to bouncing further back. Now getting a close one, it zooms in, sure comes in a little bit hot, but the hole-in-one is definitely there if you are a little bit lucky. Hole number 2 is one of the few par 3s, or I would say I think this is the only par 3 where we are actually using a short iron towards the pin. And that is obviously where I'm playing from the front tee. It's a very short par 3 with a very good chance for a drop. And this is the way to play it. The green slightly slopes right to left, so you're going to have to aim on the right side of the pin. When we do have a bad ball guideline, such as we do have with the Thorn level 5, we need to make sure that we are clearly right side of the pin, because we don't really see how it turns to the left on the green. Maximum distance with a 15% over adjustment, I'm using 0.8 bars of topspin. I would be using a little backspin in tailwind, and I would be using no spin in crosswind. I'm hitting a great right, and here you can see that getting a drop here with a hole-in-one means obviously that we were aiming too far left. So again, you need to move enough to the right with your target to make sure that you can get the hole-in-one in a more consistent way, and then your then your opponent can continue laughing at you while you make that drop. For hole number 3, we're gonna play one of the tougher par 5s there is in the game, in my opinion, and that's because even if we do the drive correct, it's still going to be a difficult second shot to get to the green area. And this is a par 5 where we are not playing for the albatross. We're playing for a safe eagle, and the way we do it is to try to get this ball to be as far up the fairway on the right possible. Do left spin and a little bit of backspin here, and where adjustment is max plus 15. And we're using outside wall left curl. The adjustment and the spins will vary depending on what wind direction you have off tee, but the end result is something we would like to be the same. Now you can see that I'm sitting there on that slight uphill slope. I want to be a little bit longer up, because what's going to happen now is that we are so dependent on tailwind if we're going to reach to the other side. And now we do have tailwind for the sake of the example. And then you can decide to do two things. If you do have a lot of backspin, meaning that you do have at least 6 bars of backspin, you can go directly at green, just land it there and be done with it. If you don't have that, and you have another club such as a big dog here that doesn't have the backspin, but it does have the power, we want to do a rough bump out towards the green. The rough bump obviously is a bit more riskier, as if you misjudge, you might stay into the rough and stuff like that. But the same type of thought with the backspin on green should be from the rough, that we're playing for a safe eagle and just to be done with it. So try to avoid thinking that this is going to be an albatross. Play the ball to green and get yourself the eagle. If you have the possibility to play with something that is better than a power 3 ball, such as a power 4 ball or a power 5 ball, then use that, because that will minimize the need of overpower on the second shot, and especially if you do have a crosswind or a headwind, that will be very helpful. Hole number 4. This is going to be a par 3 with a lot of bumps. There is a rough bump just to the right of the bunker on the left, but when we're playing with such a low accuracy clubs and also with bad ball guideline, that rough bump will that's going to be generally crap. So I wouldn't recommend to go for the rough bump here from front tee. I would recommend to do a regular backspin bounce over by using around 2 to 3 bars of backspin depending on what wind direction we have off tee, and use medium distance plus 20. I'm playing with a mauling ball here to reduce the wind just slightly, but at the same time keep it very cheap. We bounce on the fairway over towards the green, and we just burning the edge. Needed a little bit more adjustment, or we needed to move our target a little bit more to the side than what we have there. And that's obviously the difficult part with long irons and short irons with a bad ball guideline. We don't really know if we're aiming directly at pin or not. If you're enjoying the video, make sure to hit the thumbs up button, also subscribe to the channel here and turn on the notifications. And for those of you who want to take your game to the next level, then you subscribe to our patreon.com/golfclashtommy, link in the description down below. That is for our ultimate tournament text guide. We are doing that for Master Division for this week's 9-hole cup, but do not miss out. We're doing loads of quick 9 guides as well for the month of May, so make sure to subscribe to our platform from there as well. Patreon.com/GCT Quick 9. Scan the QR code on the screen or use the link in the description down below. Hole number 9. Here we're going to play on this little fairway pad there. It looks scarier than what it is. So what I'm doing is that I will in the end up with playing with half a bar of backspin and 2 right spins. So I was a little bit undecided here for a bit what I would actually going to play, because I do want to have enough distance so I can get past the tree on the left, but I don't want to have too much and roll into the rough or in the sand like off that you can see there in front of the fairway, or like after the fairway, sorry for my English. So I'm setting the spins, making an adjustment that is max plus 10, and then I will be applying some overpower here, which is going to be approximately 2 rings. You can see that the needle is super slow, which you get when you which you are getting when you're not at max line. Then you get a much slower needle, and it rolls lovely, and we're getting ourselves a short wedge to pin. So the second shot here, we're playing with the wedge that gives us the best ball guideline. For those that have been watching the complete playthrough, would have hear me say on hole 5 and hole 6, where we play wedges, how important it is to play with a wedge that you have a good ball guideline. So me playing with a skewer here is not really the best decision I've done in my life. In the end, I ending up dropping it, but choose the wedge that gives you the best possible ball guideline, and that, because that will help you immensely in trying to get yourself a safe and smooth way of locking in the eagle. You don't have to play with a kingmaker if you don't want to, because it's not really needed. The 3 right spin is not really needed, the wind resistance, but obviously the P3 is going to be super helpful, as otherwise it's very easy to fall short on drive. For hole number 6, we should just pray to not get headwind. And unfortunately, we do have headwind here in the video. But I wanted to display that even if you do have headwind, there is a way of bouncing on the fairway pad over the water. But it's still going to be risky. So I wouldn't really recommend to do this type of play if you don't have the possibility to play with a power 3 ball minimum. If you do have a tailwind here, you can even play with a power 1 ball. You will still have the wind help the ball be carried over the water and land nicely on the fairway. So the ultimate outcome here is that we bounce on the fairway on the island and then get the ball to be closer towards the green. That will leave a wedge, or it will leave a short iron close to minimum distance. I'm using the big topper to give myself the most topspin possible, because we do want to use a lot of topspin to make sure that we do carry over the water. Second shot, I want to play with a short iron here, so if I would be clipping rough like I did on my drive, then I would make sure to use a little bit of topspin instead, to make sure that I can play with my short iron instead of my long iron. Here, if you do have a bad ball guideline, which is what I'm having here, then I would strongly advise you to back up and make sure that you do have room for the rollout, because the worst thing you can do here is to come in too hot, and that's obviously never going to drop. 20% elevation, true club distance, so if you are at max distance, which we are now in the video, then we're going to use max distance, but the most likely outcome if you don't clip the rough is that you are somewhere between minimum and medium distance of your club. Bounces on the fairway and it gets down towards the green, and this time we drop it for a lovely albatross here on hole number 6. On hole number 5 here, I would strongly recommend to play with a ball that has as much power as possible. Berserker ball is the one for me, because I know I would be having a good chance getting at least one back from the upcoming golden shot. So I'm using 4.5 bar topspin and putting my target at the center of the fairway, maximum distance plus 10, and then I will apply max overpower with, I mean, it's a shaky needle, but you can hit great left and great right and still be up by the green. For those of you that do have a possibility to play with more topspin, 6 bars of topspin, maybe 7 bars of topspin, use all the topspin and reduce the overpower slightly, then it will be easier to hit perfect, but you will also see yourself getting onto the green. I'm gonna show the wedge, even though it's a very short one. I would recommend to pack a wedge that has a good ball guideline, and the reason for that is that otherwise it becomes much more difficult, and it becomes a lot of guesswork to aim correctly with the ball guideline. So you can see here now I'm basically just eyeballing, as I don't really have a ball guideline to follow, and that's never something that is good to bring consistency with a wedge. So now, sure, I'm dropping it, but at the same time, you know, it didn't feel good. It didn't feel confident at all when not having the ball guideline. The Cliff Shootout, as it's called, and this is honestly one of the tougher par 3s from any tee to drop consistently, and that is because it's a very bumpy fairway that we're bouncing on, and we are landing on a very bumpy green. So getting this hole-in-one consistently is something that we are going to have to forget, regardless of what tee box we are playing from and what club and what ball we're having. But what we can do at least is that we can do our best, obviously. So the idea here is to get the ball to go at the top of the green to fall down towards the pin. This will leave us room from not having to bounce very close to the water, because you will notice when you play against your opponents that if they don't really know how to attack this hole, they will fall down into the water and lose a shot. I'm using a quasar ball or a navigator depending on what wind direction I'm going to have, but I'm keeping myself with the power 1 ball, using the sniper as it does have a good ball guideline and a good accuracy. 20% elevation, medium distance here for hole number 8. Hole number 9, and this is going to be a tough par 5 to consistently drop, and the reason for that is the bumpy fairways. There is not a lot of room for faulty adjustments and stuff like that here, and that's the difficult part in my opinion. So what I would like to say here is that we start with the quarterback using all the left spin that we can, combined with 3 to 5 bars of topspin, depending on what amount you're having. The maximum topspin with the quarterback is 5 bars if you do have it in a max level. Adjustment max plus 15, and we're going to use some left curl. The goal here is to get the ball to be on the left of the second fairway. Because once we're getting there, we do have an open shot towards the fairway pad to bounce it towards the green. Now it is important to make sure to give yourself some room in terms of having the second bounce to be clearly over the rough line. If you do like I'm doing here in the video, you will never be in any risk of getting the ball into the water, even if you may make a bad adjustment, or you might underpower a little bit or overpower a little bit, then you will still be safe on the green. But if making the correct adjustment, then you will see yourself being very close dropping an albatross. 10% elevation is what I'm using here. I'm trying to use true club distance number, and here I was closer to minimum distance than medium distance, which makes sense that I did over adjust my shot by using the medium adjustment. So make sure to judge the club distance in the best way possible, use the 10% elevation, and give yourself a chance for a drop on hole number 9. Thank you everybody for watching and this playthrough for a rookie division. If you do have any type of questions about the content that I do here on the channel, never hesitate to reach out. And yes, if you enjoyed it, don't forget to thumbs up on your way out.